speaking about fallen heroes, just as this was approaching, the Nigeria-Morocco match was approaching, and we heard that pledge of $1 million by the president of Boa Group. Somebody said, look, Nigerian heroes go, our soldiers are on the war front every day, and nobody ever promises anybody $1 million if you win a war. You know, why is it that we tend to forget those people and yet invest so much in our football? I do hope that as time goes on, we will be able to pay attention, not abandon one for the other, but pay attention to the fact that some people's lives, this is not a question of, this glory for the country. Glory for the country, yes, when we win a match, it's wonderful and it's beautiful. But some people, this emblem is more than just an emblem. It's honoring the sacrifice that some people have paid, the ultimate sacrifice for God and country, honoring their fatherland. But let's not take anything away from that now, and also the sacrifice that our boys put, in the match yesterday. We're joined this morning by Idah, who is former Nigerian international, former goalkeeper for the Super Eagles. I'm sure that you had high hopes for today. I know that you must have watched, scrutinizing everything, your heart in your mouth, your heart pounding, and saying, Super Eagles, you can do this, you can do this. But at the end of the day, it was 4-2 on penalties. How were you able to see the match through? I want to believe that at some point your heart starts to pound in such a way that you say, am I not getting too old for this? Do you ever get too old for it?
Exactly. Even though you played, at a point you begin to think. I told my friends who were all watching the game, I said, I feel some pain in my heart. I don't know, is it normal? They say, go and drink water. It's quite unfortunate. Okay, but we have to start by saying congratulations to the boys. No one gave them a chance. They raised our hope. We began to believe. Remember, we didn't qualify for the World Cup, and it dampened everyone's spirit. But after they won the first game, second game, third game, we started watching them again and started believing again. And it was difficult. We knew it was. I want to say something that might not be very correct. Immediately I saw Senegal win, I knew we were in trouble. Somehow, immediately Senegal won, and I turned and spoke to my friends. I said, this is an Arab land. One Arab country would play in the finals. They will not allow two West African countries to play in the finals. These things happen in football. And we all saw it with the referee yesterday. There's something they call in football stop and kill. That stop and kill is that you stop actions before they happen. You delay actions, and no one will know you're cheating, but that's what they're doing. And so it was quite unfortunate yesterday that these boys gave everything, and I want to congratulate them. Just that they missed a point of being called heroes. You were just mentioning about war heroes. I've never seen any politician that is called a hero. It's either a sportsman or a military man. And if a sportsman, you must win a medal before they call you a hero. I think that's what they missed yesterday.
Oh dear, was to be very disappointed. That's very interesting. So when you speak about these subtle manipulations, though, at what point would you say you began to see that?
Well, we knew, we're in this game. You could say, the women were saying, why did the referee do like this? You would say it happens every time. And Morocco's not won this competition for 30 years. They're number one in Africa. They played the semifinals at the World Cup. They've invested millions and millions on infrastructure, on their sports. They pay their women league. They pay every girl child playing football in Morocco $300 every month. That's from outside the club. The FA pays these girls, so they want them to come and play. They've invested so much in their sport that they need to see results. And I pity them. I want them to win, not obviously against us. But these things happen. These things they're subtle, like you said. Nobody mentions them. But we know these things happen. Like I said, Immediately with Senegal qualified, I knew they would have an Arab country in the finals. And we also, where he would flash a yellow card. This yellow card is a caution. And once it cautions you, a player that would come in for a tackle will withdraw. If he gives you a corner kick, instead of giving you a corner kick, he says it's a goal kick. It cuts your ability to score. Little things like this happen. And the referee was absolutely, absolutely so poor that in my African sports group where the condemnation is out of this world, everyone knows that he gave Morocco the advantage. But for the boys, we can't crucify this team. We didn't have a belief on them. We never expected, and nobody even cared about the AFCON because we didn't qualify for the World Cup, but they gave us hope. And I think they did well, with all the circumstances and all the whole backlash about payment of match bonuses. We can't be hearing such things at this age of our football. We're asking, when you talk to the NFF will point at the government. You talk to the government people will say, your people are not serious. So we're in a catch-22. We don't know where to blame, whom to blame, and it's a problem.
I'm sure sometimes you're just still shaking your head like, you mean we're still here? we're still talking match bonuses. Which day are we going to be out of this? But back to the match yesterday, we did know. I mean, I remember speaking with my colleague, a quick preview of what we were to expect, and he was telling me that his own prediction was that we're going to get to penalties. He did believe. As a matter of fact, another analyst whom we had spoken with, a sports journalist for over 30 years, Mr. Awurimba, was telling me about how his one prediction was that the match was going to be about 1-0 or 2-1, as the case might be, but that we had to play it within the 90 minutes or extra time. That if it went into penalties, we were in trouble. That was his own prediction. My colleague was also saying that he was saying the same thing yesterday as well, that they were really afraid of the game getting to penalties. And sadly, or will I say bravely, the game eventually got to that place. But we did know that we had quite a number of opponents. First, we're playing the host nation. And as you rightly said, they, how do I put it now? They have invested over the years consistently, structurally, in a way that made them a formidable team. I watched the game between Morocco and Cameroon, and I knew that I was praying in my mind that, Lord, let this not be an opponent that we have, because I looked around that stadium and it was very hard to see any Cameroonian flag anywhere because they were dominant in the stand. So you're playing a host team that we're going to, and I understand we're playing in the city of the king, Rabat, where the king lives. There were all manner of significances around it. And then my colleague said something yesterday. He said, we're also going to be playing against the officials. And I said, what do you mean by we're playing against the officials? He said, well, in this particular type of game, you will play against you're going to be playing against the officials. So these were the opponents, it would seem, that were stacked up against us. I think a lot of Nigerians were making jokes about how, you have South Africans and Ghanaians as our officials, then maybe we need to go and, say, we need to say other types of prayers. They really felt that the game was already jinxed. Things were not lined up in our favor. But from what you saw yesterday, psychologically, in spite of all that, because some people said that game was a game of psychology. The Moroccans were going to come in very dominant at the stands, even within the field of play. From what you saw yesterday, how psychologically prepared would you say we were to be able to take on all of these opponents and, still give the sort of output? Yes, we didn't win, that's fine, but we didn't seem to also cower in defeat even before we played the game.
Yeah, we actually didn't lose the game. I would say that, of the 5 games we played, in this tournament, we didn't lose any. So credit to the boys. When you say you lost by penalties, yes, you lost the game, but you did not lose the match. Yeah, I must give kudos to these boys. Like again, I said, I didn't give them a chance. When they got to this AFCON, a whole lot of things changed. I don't know what changed. I think most of them were saying, we've played 2 AFCONs, 3 AFCONs, we need to redeem our image because they didn't go to the World Cup. So somehow they wanted to play. And I've always said it, anytime the Nigerian team wants to play, they play. Okay, talking about everything against them, yes, they would have been prepped. They would have been prepared. You know you're playing away from home. You've already seen it. You know, as you're driving into the stadium, people will be raising their hand 5-0, 4-0. Psychologically, they will torment you. But these are professionals. And if you know why players always wear earbuds when they are coming down from the buses or entering the dressing room or even coming out to warm up, you always see them with earbuds. You just shut out the noise and play your favorite music. You don't hear anything. And it just goes to psych you up to say, I'm here for this and I'm here for this purpose. Again, this team has done well. You know, I looked at them and said, this team should be at the World Cup. If we had won this AFCON, I would have begged FIFA, say, please, just manage us at the World Cup. We are good enough to be there. Again, kudos must go to the coach. You know, he took this team when the spirit was so low. You know, he has raised the team. I hear he wants to go to Tunisia. And a friend asked me, will he go to Tunisia? I said, yes. He's a businessman. And then they've offered him $100,000 per month. And not just that, he will make a name. And that name would be being a coach of a World Cup side. You know, it's the highest level of coaching anywhere in the world that you coach a team to the World Cup. So I think he would go if the offer we're hearing is good. And it brings us back to where we first started. We have to restructure our football. We have to restructure our NFF. It cannot be politics. The politics in the NFF is too much. It has to be strictly football. Do the right thing, get the right deals, get the right sponsors. Then you don't always have to run to government. Government wants to get involved, whether you like it or not. Because if the team is playing well, Nigeria is doing well, somebody said to me yesterday, and he said, do you know even the bandits are watching the game? The bandits, there will be no kidnapping this night. They will have their television, there will be no kidnapping. But if you don't win, anybody they see, they will carry. That's how much football means to us. So the government wants to get involved. They shouldn't get involved. It should be an independent. Our national team should be well funded. Look for sponsors. Then you can manage what you have. You look at the number of people that travel. You know, I got the details, got pictures, and it was quite sad that we are still at this level of planning in our football and doing what we're doing. We hope that change will come very soon.
All right, I know Ayo, has a question for you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Well, Mr. Peterside, with your own confession as well, that you are feeling a kind of pain in your heart, is it normal? It is normal. That is why I have been avoiding watching live football myself. But the first question that I wanted to ask you is, try for a brief moment to put yourself in the place of the goalkeeper yesterday. Let's help us get into his head. How do you think he must have felt? Particularly, just so we try to understand the emotions that must have informed some of his choices.
Goalkeeping, it's risky. When I was keeping, I had a coach, some Yoruba chap when I was in secondary school that taught me the act of penalty saving, and I was one of the best. In humility, I say that. He had a style which he taught us. Then during the World Cup in 1992, we had a goalkeeper called Pelugia. Not Pelugia, because I was a goalkeeper, I followed them. And Pelugia said this. So they asked him, how do you deal with penalties? And he said, I create my own luck. And they asked him, what do you do? It's quite different. So he says, every time there's a penalty, he decides to go one way 5 times. 1 way 5 times. That's his own psychology. He says, I go 1 way 5 times. So if you play the first one, I go to the left. You come to the second time, I go to the left. He says, something will tell you, go to the left. He's been going to the left. So he says, if you bring it to the left, I save it. So he had that kind of mentality that he will go 5 times. So most times, twice, they'll bring the ball to his left and he will be a hero. He will save twice. The act of goalkeeping is an act. is an art. It depends on how you are trained. It depends on what discussion. Sometimes I saw Wabale going to talk to the coach, and he opened a computer. So I'm like, okay, do they have the records of where these players have been playing their penalty? Every player that plays a penalty and scores in his previous match or 2 games behind will always put the ball there because he knows he scored, and his sidekick will tell him, you always score on this side. That is why you see in European football now, you see the goalkeeper has a list of where the players 3 penalties ago, 4 penalties ago, out of 4, you play 3 to the right or 2 to the left. And you decide, okay, if you play 3 to the left, I will go to the left side. So it's a gamble. If it favors you, then you become the hero of the game.
Interesting. So now, with the experience that we have had now, you've also said something about the need for us to restructure our football, and that's a bit touching. Now, what is missing? The challenge is not whether or not we have good players. The challenge that you're speaking to is the infrastructure, soft infrastructure that has governed our sports over the years. Now, we see that the Institute of Sports, Nigerian Institute of Sports, is becoming a little more active recently. I won't forget Youth Fund, the Youth Sports Federation of Nigeria, and the feat they pulled in 1987. Now, are those the things that we need? What is it that is missing that maybe we probably lost from those heydays of the Abiola Babes, Leventis United, and the rest of them, that we lost, that we need to get back to if we want to remain prime and all the time?
Great question. I had a chat with Diko. You know, we contested the elections together to be president of NFF together. The problem we have now is that nobody gives any management time. Whether you are a politician or you're a governor, nobody gives you time. Everybody wants immediate results. So what do you do in getting this? You must make noise for people to know you're working. How do you do that? You have to involve the FA president. And I said this during my campaign. You have presidents or FA chairmen around the states. The people need to know that this is where you're going. And the monies that come in, it's not for you to chop it or eat it. It has to be visible. You hear our president is even saying now, oh, they stopped subsidy and they're giving governors money. What is he trying to say? He said, don't blame me, go to the governors. They're the ones with the money. So you need to do that. Go to the FA chairman, give them money and say, produce players for us. Produce people for you. They have structures in local governments and in states. Produce these players for us. Then you have NFF coaches that are just sitting there and doing nothing. You send them to zones. You need to send them to zones and say, go to this zone, go to this zone, take 3 months there. When you come out from this zone, we want to see things happening. We want to see players being raised. Now, it is not the responsibility of the NFF to have infrastructures. That's the responsibility of the government. The government must provide infrastructures. NFF can build stadiums. The states must provide infrastructures. Now, when they have these infrastructures, it helps them raise local players or local talents. You don't come to the national team to learn how to pass the ball, to head the ball. You must come prepared. When I got to the national team to play for Nigeria, I had played for a team like Rangers. I played for Eimba. I played for Iwayawu in those days. I played for Sharks. So I knew the rudiments of the game. All they did then was to hone my talents. You're not doing it well here, you're not doing it well there. And you're playing with more professionals that will help enhance your game. So we must go back to this grassroots. But the NFF must be seen as getting involved there. Now, imagine what will happen if you give responsibility to this chairman of FAs and you send zonal coordinators, go find talents for us. This is where you find them. And when you find them, you now sublet them to the main body. You have national team coaches. And they spend time. I stayed in Otakam, Otabasanjo Otakam. I lived in Obasanjo camp for 8 months, 7 months, 8 months. I would leave my team after the game on Saturday, on Sunday you must report to camp. I would leave my team. I used to play for Rangers there. Then I would go to Otakam. All our colleagues were coming from me. We used to use night bus. We'll get there. I remember my allowance was 20 naira every day. You get there, you start training Monday evening because now they've chosen you from your local club. They want you to fit into, it was Clemens Westhoff and Christian Chuku. They wanted you to fit into the pattern. And on Friday, they will give you transport for Friday. Anywhere your team is playing, Obomosho, Kwara, they'll give you transport fare to go join your team. Because the coaches know you are coming from an advanced level of training. So they will not bother whether you've trained or not. And you come and play for your club side, and everyone will see. You're coming from the national team, your boot is new, your T-shirts are smelling like gold. There's something about it that you're coming from the Super Eagles. Therefore, all the other players aspire to go play for Nigeria. I will never forget this. The first day I had the cap, Nigeria versus Ethiopia, they were singing the national anthem. I was weeping. I was crying. I said, Daddy, can you see me here? You know, we don't have this anymore. The desire to want to play for the country is gone. Why? Because we don't put value anymore on the national team. We're like, you know, you just wake up one morning, oh, there's Lookman in Europe. There's this player in Turkey. Therefore, you neglect what you have. And all these players here that are gifted are frustrated because they know no matter how much they push, they can never be called. They will never replace those guys that are out there. So it takes a lot of desire and planning.
Well, we can only hope for the best, you know, Bishop, because over time we've
talked the match yesterday. It was just a match, you know. It was not any kind of match. Yes, we're not going to come home with a medal.
But it wasn't just a match.
It's okay. But what we're hoping is
it wasn't just a match. When you play for the national team, we don't just call it a match. It's war. It's two nations going to war. Therefore, it's either you kill or you are killed. You know, so sometimes when people begin to blame players for the way they behave, their character, the way they react, you need to go. You need to know this is war. Go shoot your opponent down. Go kill your opponent and get the results.
Your perspectives this morning, hoping that things will get better over time. Peterside Idah is a former Nigerian international and former goalkeeper of the Super Eagles. Thank you again for your time. Now, when we return, it's another issue to look at, but this time just to hobnob on a number of things that have happened in the course of the week. Do stay with us.